Have you ever wondered why guy friendships seem to last a lifetime and feel so fulfilling? From childhood buddies to lifelong pals, many men maintain strong bonds through the years. In this video, we'll dive into the dynamics that make male friendships so enduring and why they often seem lighter and easier compared to others. Let's dive in.
What makes male friendships last long? Why do guy friendships seem more fulfilling and sustainable? I've noticed that most guys will know each other from elementary and still be good friends till adulthood. I also recently went to a scholarship reception where my table was all guys and they hit it off pretty well. It was as if they knew each other. Female 19, do prefer to hang out with the girlies. However, when I do speak to a guy, scholarship reception, it feels a lot lighter and easier. While with a girl, I feel like I have to put on an act. Example, a guy at the table was listing off all the kids he had, and one of the other ladies mentioned that was a lot of kids, and it was fine. While if that was said to a woman, she would think that you're insulting her, etc. Male friendships were one of the things I was always envious of because they didn't have to find new friends every school year.
Now that we've delved into the intricacies of male friendships, it's time to hear from the comments section. Let's read some thoughts, experiences, and insights on why you think guy friendships endure so well.
Mindset really. Women desire more. Men just want to be enough. Our friendships are enough, they don't need to be anything more.
This is obviously a mass generalization, but I've noticed that my female friends have higher expectations when it comes to any relationship, so they're often disappointed when people ultimately put themselves first. Some men are probably like this too, but I know for me and my friends, it's never really personal and we can have our arguments, but we'll get over it. My female friends also feel the need to communicate every problem, and that often just leads to increasing conflict. While I do think communication is important, not everything little problem needs to be discussed, and sometimes just moving on is the better solution.
Guys always get labeled as super competitive, but I've noticed women can be on another level. Everything is taken personally.
Men are competitive when it comes to competition. Women are competitive in life. When everything is a competition, there's no room to just chill. No one's really your friend. They're just the other competitors.
There have been multiple studies on the subject. One of the most recent studies examined how sports teams treat their teammates and opponents in both women's and men's sports. In men's sports, there was mutual respect both within teams and towards opponents. In women's sports, the study found that women had more respect for their opponents than for their own teammates. Evolutionary biologists hypothesize that this behavior stems from the different roles males and females played historically. Males, who were hunters, needed to rely on each other and had to be adaptable, quickly forming new bonds with different hunting partners for successful hunts. They also had to be prepared to lose their hunting mates during hunts. For females, there were mutual groups that protected their young from other mothers, who were competitors. If a mother wasn't vigilant, another female, who is competition, could harm her child to ensure more resources for her own offspring, typically from the same father. These mutual groups provided protection when one mother was away, but the bonds within these groups were not very loyal and did not last a lifetime.
From my POV, women friendships usually expect a lot from their friendships, almost on the same level as romantic relationships. They usually put in a lot of effort into their friendships, and they are kind of expected to, or else they will be excluded from the friendship group or left by the side. Women usually need other people more than men, physically and emotionally, in order to survive in life.
Hard to agree. This also is a comment on the current male versus female discourse, where men are painted as deliberately uncaring, when that's their default mode with their friends. So how are they supposed to know to throw you an elaborate birthday week, just because her friend group does?
So how can a woman struggling with the desire to learn how to settle themselves to be at peace with a man? For the woman, when the man doesn't give that more, it's easy for them to overthink and assume that they are unloved. This can drive them almost to get obsessed with the man to be what she expects. Let's say she realizes what you said, how can she learn to adapt and gain fulfillment more with the relationship and drop the desire to have more?
The reason is that friendships between women have aspects of romantic relationships. For example, many women are head over heels friends with a new girlfriend, but can also again fall out of love later. Male friendships usually don't have these relationship aspects and are thus more stable.
I do see that. One of my friends that whenever she would break up with her boyfriend, I felt that I would take the boyfriend position, which is different for everyone, but calling all the time, waiting for her after class, which is also a nice gesture, but she would get RLY upset when I didn't. But whenever her and the BF got back together, it didn't really matter what I did.
I feel like I have to put on an act. This is exactly it. Women are always performing for each other. Guys who respect you don't expect anything from you. Just be yourself and don't make my life harder, and we will be friends.
Common interests also allowed guys to become friends very quickly. Oh, you play this game? Me too. Let's play together every few days for the next decade. When you don't get approached often, you spend a lot of time talking to and appreciating the people you're already around.
And the friendships are more likely to stay rooted in hobbies and lighter stuff. Men don't share intimate details and the ugly sides of their lives as much with each other. This might be unhealthy, but it produces fewer topics for conflict.
Male friendships often last long because they are built on a foundation of shared experiences and mutual respect. Many men bond over activities and interests, creating strong memories that reinforce their connection. Let's keep reading.
Teabagging each other's corpses in Halo.
When disagreements could actually lead to violence, you learn to de-escalate, forgive fast, and have the utmost respect for space and boundaries. Those things are conducive to long-lasting friendships, but granted, you get closeness much more slowly.
This is a great point. Women will argue and yell, but men will actually throw hands and do damage. The cost of disrespect is too high. The threat of mutually assured destruction is what keeps the peace.
Also, is it really worth the drama to hold on to a grudge? Either end the friendship or find a compromise. I want my friendships to be relaxing. I'm often friends for a reason, not just to put on an act.
I would add that there is also a strong incentive to maintain friendly relations with other men so that you could enlist their aid to deal with a problem or make good on an opportunity. Men will generally help other men when asked if they are able. They earn each other's respect and may share in the spoils.
Civilized men, no better word at the moment, learn to develop a healthy relationship with violence, because we know what we are capable of. Not just because of the physical strength, but also the testosterone-driven impulse control issues. We have seen and experienced random hitting, smacking, pushing, pulling, etc. from women. But it doesn't hurt much or do much damage, or even have the tendency to escalate further. But the same things, if a man does it, could easily hurt and is cause for detrimental escalation. Another point being, we are not easily hurt by random insults and jabs as well, I think. Brotherhood develops as naturally as instinct when you can playfully insult/jibe with a fellow man, and just as easily they don't take offense.
Give and take. Guys are more casual with friendships. We very rarely expect a lot from each other, so that makes it easy to get together. It's how two guys can meet each other again after years and hit it off. But that also means most of our friendships are quite shallow, because men don't open up. We don't open up to women, and we certainly don't open up to our homies. Not strictly because of a fear of seeming weak, but because that's how we're taught. I don't think we often pursue further contact with said people either. A bunch of guys who've not met each other can group up at a social function, hit it off like friends, then adjourn and never see each other again. And then you have men nowadays feeling super lonely.
To be fair, some guys do open up to our homies because our homies can understand our problems and provide advice.
I'd say, in my experience, men are far more likely to open up to each other in one-on-one situations. Men opening up to each other in group situations is much rarer. It does happen, but even when it does, the conversation often reverts quite quickly to being non-serious/jockey. We men are quite odd in that sense.
Yeah, it's on the verge of fascinating and disgusting to me what facts some women share with their larger social group. Most guys don't mention much of their private life when meeting with friends, and if they do, it's most often in one-on-one situations about major life events or dilemmas. There was some post recently with brilliant answers about real differences between women and men, and the top answer was that guys can hang out for like 12 hours and not share a single info about their private life. There is so much truth in that in my experience.
I once read an article about a woman that started up an all-woman corporation. She described how catty and spiteful everyone was to each other, and how it escalated to the point that the company imploded 2 years later. It's an interesting read. It definitely shows some elements of how men and women have differing views on friendships and rivalries.
Less drama, less questions, willing to forgive faster, never talking too much. Normally hanging out revolves around doing stuff and not just hanging out to talk.
If I ask a friend to help me with something or do something with me and he says he can't, I don't immediately descend into, well, he did a favor for this other friend. I know he should be able to do it. He hasn't got other stuff going on. Well, I did a favor for him, so now he's slating me on purpose by not doing it for me. Combine this incident with some other perceived slights against me from the ancient past, forming the picture in my mind that he's actually a shitty person who's using me and doesn't give a crap about me. And another dozen variants. I mean, these are all anecdotal, as is the OP, so, to a large extent I just say, okay, thanks. And presume that I don't know what's going on in someone else's life. Reminds me of the SNL skit about having a straight male friend. If a friend gets back in contact with me after 5 years, it's not a drama that we didn't really have contact with before. Heck man, we're all busy, we've all got stuff to do.
You good? Loyalty plays a crucial role, as men often value friends who stick by them through thick and thin. Additionally, a sense of humor and the ability to laugh together can make the friendship enjoyable and resilient. Let's read some more.
Men treat their relationships like footballs and they last forever. Women treat their relationships like porcelain and they fall apart.
I think guys are more chill about disagreements/issues than a lot of women are. I've had some pretty major blow-ups with a couple of my best mates that I've had for 15 to 20 years plus. We've always hashed it out though. Whereas I see some women that end friendships over the pettiest shit. My mom is shocked by it. Was besties with someone for 10 years or so. They went out for drinks and mom hit it off with a guy. Important point, she is and was single. Her friend left her to it, which led to mom losing her shit at her for abandoning her. Friendship over. That happened when I was 12. Though it was stupid then, and while I can see a reason for mom being pissed about it now, I don't see it as worthy of ending such a long friendship.
I understand where you are coming from, and it's something I did notice growing up throughout high school especially, where guys tend to have the same friend group for years and girls seem to change friends a lot more throughout the years. I'm not sure if this is a good or a bad thing. I'm sure there's a ton of things which probably lead to this dynamic forming which I don't understand enough to give you an explanation of. But I can give you my male perspective for what it's worth by way of a story. My best friend is someone I met in school when I was 12 years old. We became friends because his pencil case was of a video game that I enjoyed too, and I asked him about it and bonded over that tiny little sense of shared connection. Growing up together, we always had each other's backs. Even though I knew my friend was wrong in a lot of circumstances, I would back him, then talk to him afterwards that what I thought he did wasn't the best thing. I think boys/men tend to forgive each other and show loyalty to each other to a degree that I'm not even sure is really healthy. I remember once we were in a nightclub, we were probably around 18-19 years old. I remember saying something to my friend that he didn't like. He starts getting upset and I keep saying it kinda in a mocking way, in the kind of male banter type way. Even though I could see it was hurting him, I just kept doing it. I don't really know why. I know I'm dumb. He snaps and starts punching me in my arms and chest as hard as he can. Repeatedly. To the point where my arms/chest/torso have like heavy bruising. After maybe like 3 to 4 punches, I tell him to fuck off and slap him across the face with the back of my hand. We end up grabbing each other by the shirt and are just pummeling each other. Not in the face, we weren't really like actually trying to hurt each other or put each other in hospital. But hard punches in the body/torso/arms, which hurt a lot. It's a bit like we were letting the frustrations we both felt about our little indiscretions we do to each other out. We eventually tell each other to fuck off and we storm off in our separate directions. About an hour later, we kind of bump into each other and awkwardly apologize while embracing each other. Kind of hugging each other and telling each other we are sorry and that we love each other. We were both pretty drunk. After that, we were fine and just carried on as normal. I don't think I've ever had a conversation about that night with my friend LOL. We just accepted it as a thing that happened and we moved on. I am not exaggerating in the slightest when I say I would die for my friend. Like if a knife or a bullet was heading his way and I had the chance to jump in front of it. I would. I'm not joking. I think he might do the same for me too, but I'm not 100% sure. Whether he would or not doesn't really matter to me. That being said, This same dude, we live on the other side of the city and he has a family and things, so we don't talk quite as much as we used to. Sometimes it might be weeks or even months before we hang out or text/call each other, etc. But every time we do it just feels like there is no distance or separation. It's just the same as it's always been. Guys are kinda emotionally dumb and loyal in certain contexts. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kinda getting a little misty-eyed while typing this up. I'm gonna text my friend and call him a pussy. I'm not sure why Reddit posted my message like 10 times. I went through and deleted the extra ones. I'm sorry.
Whether it's the ease of conversation, the lack of judgment, or the shared experiences, there's something truly special about the bonds between guys. It's about fostering genuine connections built on trust, acceptance, and mutual respect. Until next time, keep fostering those meaningful connections. Subscribe for more.